Hello and welcome to this video. So in this video, we're going to take a look at functions. So a JavaScript function is a block of code designed to perform a particular task, job, or function. Again, a JavaScript function is executed or started when something invokes or calls it. So to use a function, you must first create or declare the function somewhere in your code before you can actually call it or ask it to do something for you in your program. Now, let's see how a function can be declared. So to declare a function in JavaScript, we basically use the function keyword followed by the name of the function, an opening and closing parenthesis, and then an opening and closing curly braces. So that is how we declare functions in JavaScript. Now let's talk about something called function parameters. So function parameters are the values or inputs that a function expects from whatever is calling it in order for the function to be able to do what it was created to do. So when a function is declared, it can either have parameters or not. And as to whether the function has parameters or not is going to depend on what exactly the function is going to be doing in the program. Again, the parameters of a function are normally specified in the opening and closing parentheses when declaring the function, and whenever the function is called, the values of the parameters are supposed to be passed along. So the next thing we are going to take a look at is how to invoke or call functions. So the way that functions in JavaScript are invoked or called is to simply use the name of the function followed by an opening parenthesis, then the parameters for the function, if any, and finally a closing parenthesis. So that is how functions are called or invoked in JavaScript. So now we are going to simply head over to our code editor and we are going to see all these things we've spoken about in action. Okay, so as always, I have my Google Chrome browser on the left hand side, and on the right hand side, I have my VS Code editor. So the first thing we are going to take a look at is how to declare a function or how to create a function. So we said that in order to create a function, we basically use the function keyword, and next we are going to give the function a name. So the function we are going to create is going to be called sum num. So it's going to sum two numbers for us. Now after the name of the function, we are going to have an opening parenthesis and also a closing parenthesis. So you can see our opening and closing parenthesis typed here. Then after this, the last thing we are going to have is an opening and closing curly bracket. So I'm going to say this, and now our function has been declared, or if you like, created. But as we can see, our function doesn't do anything because in between the opening curly bracket and the closing curly bracket is where all the code for what the function is going to be doing. And as we can see, there is nothing typed in there. So currently our function doesn't do anything. So this is how we declare a function. Now let's go on top of the function, and I'm going to create two variables. So I'm going to say variable x is equal to 3 again, and then we're also going to have variable y, which is going to be equal to 2. Or let's go with 2. Save this. And so what I'm simply going to do is this function is simply going to log to the console. It's going to pick whatever is in variable x and then also pick whatever is in variable y, and it is going to add them and simply log the answer to the browser's console. So let's say log, and we are going to log the value of x plus y. So let's save this, and we can see that nothing happened. The reason is simply because we have created a function. The name of the function is called sum num. And what the function does is the function simply picks the value inside variable x and adds it to the value inside variable y. But the reason why our program is not showing anything in the console is because we have not invoked the function, or we have not called the function to do its work. So you remember we said that in order for you to call a function, you are basically going to type out the name of the function followed by an opening and closing parenthesis. So that's exactly what we are going to do. So we are going to say sum num, and we are going to have an opening and closing parenthesis, and then we'll have our ending semicolon. So when I save this, now we can see that in our console we see 5 because 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So that is what the function has done, and it has logged the answer to the console. So this is how functions in JavaScript are declared and also called. Now, the problem with this function is that all the time, the values inside variable x and y are fixed. So let's assume that we didn't want to use variables and we just wanted that anytime the user calls the function, the user can pass any two numbers that he or she wants. That is where function parameters come in play. So I'm going to take out these two variables here, and I am simply going to pass parameters inside our opening and closing parentheses. So I'm going to say the first parameter is parameter x, and then we are also going to expect parameter y. So anytime the user is calling the function, the user is supposed to supply two values, because when we're declaring the function, we told the function that anytime somebody calls it, that person is supposed to pass two parameters. And when the two parameters are passed to it, it should simply add those two parameters up and then return the result to the console, or display the result inside our browser's console. So when I save this, we are going to get errors because then we have not passed anything to the function when we're calling it. So I'm going to pass 3 here, comma, and then 2, meaning that I am passing this value of 3 for the x parameter and also the value of 2 for the y parameter. So the function is going to receive this 3 and the 2, and then it will simply add them up and display the result inside our console. So let's go and save this up, and you can see we still get 5. But the advantage of doing it this way is that now the user can pass any set of numbers. So let's go with 30 and then 2. We save this, you can see we get 32 in the console. I can even go with a negative number. So let's go with negative 30. Let's save this, and you see we get negative 28. So basically, that is all about functions. So we learned that in JavaScript, we can have a function that doesn't take parameters, or we can also have a function that takes parameters. And we again learned that in order for you to declare a function, you are going to use the function keyword followed by the name of the function, and opening and closing parentheses where the parameters of the function are going to be specified if the function is going to be using them. And then finally, we are going to have an opening and closing curly brackets. And in between the opening and closing curly brackets is where the code for the function is going to be written in. And we finally said that in order for you to invoke or call a function, you are basically going to use the name of the function followed by an opening and closing parenthesis. And if the function expects certain parameters to be passed to it, then when you are calling the function, you simply pass those parameters in the opening and closing parentheses. So basically, that is going to be all for this video. And if you enjoy these videos that I create, I urge you to click on the subscribe button because it encourages me to create more of these kinds of videos. And if you have any questions about functions in JavaScript, I urge you to leave your questions in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.